So just super quick introduction. I'm Bill Johnson. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Concordia Theological Seminary, Fort Wayne. So keeping the blinky lights blinking as well as teaching old professors new tricks, which is every bit as much fun as you think it is. So, but one of the hats I also wear, at least for the moment, is to help with the communication department. We're actually in the process of hiring somebody to take that off my plate. So I'm kind of looking forward to that and kind of not. So there's a mix there. But joined by Rebecca, and I'll let you talk about you.
I'm the communications specialist at Concordia Theological Seminary in Fort Wayne, and I do a little bit of everything, some PR marketing. I cover events and take pictures and write articles, edit the magazine. So, like nonprofit style, we do a little bit of everything.
Well, and most importantly for this purpose, you send a ton of email.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So, so real quick, just so I have a sense, do y'all have a mass email program you're using? All right. So what are you currently using?
Constant Contact.
All right. Awesome. Mailchimp. All right. Bad news on Mailchimp is I've actually been banned. I don't know why. I made an account and I got banned a minute later. So I've got a little bit of information about how you would apply this, and I can lead you that far, but I can't show you. So that's just a limit I'm going to run up against.
I don't get it either. I was trying to build one name and address, one email list, and then segregate them into different recipients of.
Right. Yeah.
I never could figure it out.
Yeah, it's tough, and we'll get into some of it. Like I said, I know the theory behind it. I just can't show it to you on the screen because that's where I end up. I mean, I just don't have the account to do it. So this morning at the hotel is interesting. We were meeting for breakfast, and you were sitting with your family, and I sat down just to kind of clear things out, and I answered the first message on my phone, and that was a mistake. Because everything blew up after that. The email, the Slack messages, I didn't get any text, thankfully, but it was just a barrage. And I realize that's exactly what we're talking about this afternoon. We don't need more communication. We've got enough. There's so much going on, so many things really just kind of being fired at us all the time, that what we really need are better ways to filter what we have. So better tools to make sure that when you're getting information, you're just getting the information you need when you need it. At the same time, as churches and ministries, we have a responsibility to our people to help them get the information and not contribute to the noise. And that is always a challenge in communication. And we'll kind of work through a little bit of what that looks like. I do want Rebecca to talk a little bit. We've just done some of this at the seminary, working through some of our communication processes. So.
Yeah, part of our strategic planning recently, what came out of that was different sections of the campus feeling a little disconnected from other ones, not knowing what's going on in each department, especially feeling like, could this affect me, things along those lines. So one of the things that came out of that was we started a weekly staff notes email. So it was just each department contributing main points, hopefully nothing too long, a couple sentences. What do we need to know? What's going on? What's your new projects? What's your new initiatives? How could this affect other people? Is there a conference happening on campus? Why are there all these extra people here? Things like that. So that way everybody feels informed and stays informed, and it's really targeted to them. We also have Blue News, which is our daily thing that comes out, and initially it's a very long thing, and a lot of times we were hearing that people weren't reading it really. So now we've adjusted it where the newest news is at the top, but you can still get all the old stuff at the bottom if you've missed out on something or you want a refresher. And then we have our faculty notes, which is specific to our faculty. I mean, in a lot of cases it would be for teachers, for you guys, that it's a little more, there's like the administrative side of things and the faculty side of things. So it's really targeted at them. So hopefully people have been saying that it's helping clear the noise a little bit. It's a little less cluttery. You know which one to go to for the information you're looking for. And so that's a bit what we've been trying to do. And then also externally, we're giving people the option to opt in to specific things they want to know, like our music events, or so that way they're not, if they don't want to get all our emails, they can just hang in with the stuff they actually want. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, I mean, since we have such a small group, what is it y'all are doing with email? What is it you're hoping that we can help with today? Because I don't want to spend a ton of time showing you things that don't help. So, sir.
Well, we have 8 elders. They each have their email list of members that they're responsible for. So
All right.
it's up to them, who are total not knowing anything about it,
Ooh.
to send stuff out to their people.
All right.
And so they do a lot of cut and pasting, so they use their own personal email system, Outlook, what have you. Google.
Okay.
They probably get in trouble for that. And we have a monthly newsletter that goes out.
All right.
I mean, that's one that we use, Mailchimp, and the elders use Mailchimp too. But they tend to more to just cut and paste.
Okay.
Try to build them lists, show them how to build their lists easier.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Do
sound real
each of these
successful.
groups, sorry to interrupt, do each of these groups receive the same,
No,
it's all targeted?
pretty much the elders building a rapport with his group of members, and they know what's going on. The elder board and church.
Oh,
direction
nice.
and stuff like that. Seasonal stuff.
Nice. Well, and I remember you were on the advancement side of the house there.
Yes, I work for a nonprofit. It's a counseling office. Mainly our email is a monthly newsletter, updates, / fundraising.
Okay.
So, I guess we're just trying to figure out too what makes people open their emails versus not. I mean, because
All right.
contact can show you who opens it, who doesn't
Right.
open it. And,
How's your open rate now?
it's about 25%.
All right. That's solid.
Yeah, the click rate is about 1%, but
Okay.
I mean, it's not too bad. There's several that I just took over in this role probably like 4 or
Okay.
5 months in to this, so kind of exploring. There's a lot of emails that bounce and all that, so cleaning
Yeah.
that up and everything, and then just exploring like is constant contact one to keep with or other options,
All right.
stuff I consider.
Cool. Yeah, well, and I've got some ideas on the advancement side that we're kind of working with a little bit that I can, we can talk through here. All right, now, come on, my fingerprint hasn't changed.
I work at a private school. I do all the admissions and marketing, and it's
Frustrating.
it is because it's like it's and usually the teachers include things on their form of communication. So for us, it's just trying to figure out how much is too much information,
Yeah.
how much is enough, how much advance notice, and just trying to make sure that they are getting enough out of it, because it's very easy for us to get really wordy and explaining things. And I feel like that's what all parents want. Some of them just want this done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So a great resource on this is a book by Kem Meyer, K-E-M Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R, called Less Clutter, Less Noise.
Okay.
And yeah, it's basically a collection of her blog posts over the years, expanded a little bit, really focusing on this question of how do we filter our communication to our audience. And she's got a follow-up called Less Chaos, Less Noise that I actually haven't read, so I have no opinion on it. All right. So this is going to be tech heavy. You've been warned. I think it was actually in the description, but I do want to deal with some of these bigger questions too, of not just the nuts and bolts of how, but the whys and what should we be thinking about as we're doing this. So when we're talking targeting on things, if we're trying to target a message, make sure people only get the information they need. Well, one way, there's a few ways to do it, and there's advantages, disadvantages. They're pretty narrow use cases, though. So one would be if you've only really got like youth group or not youth group, for example, then you really only need 2 versions of the email. You don't need to set up a complicated system. You just have 2 different mailing lists, and you send out the version you need to. All right. But when you add in the men's group, suddenly we need a youth group, not youth group, men's group, not men's group, and then we need a neither and a both. And when you add the third, well, that gets to be 12. Just trust me, I can't think through all of them right now. And it just expands factorially, literally, and you end up with way more lists and trying to create way more content than is manageable. So Alternately, you can send out single email messages for everything, and if you have a super low volume of announcements, that's great. Most of us don't. I mean, if you're here, chances are you've got an active church with a lot of ministries going on. It's probably not a workable solution. So how do we take the weekly newsletter email or that kind of thing and start to tailor the content to the audience in a way that helps them get the information they need as quickly as possible? So I don't want to skip ahead. I'm about to dive in. Yes. What's going on with everyone?
Yes. It made me think about it when you were talking about being part of development and there's that thing where if you're part of the youth group, you want the youth group emails, but you also want to know what's going on with the youth group, even if you're not a part of it. Like, you want to know what's going on with them. So and with your donor base, with your people in your congregation, they want to connect with the stories. They want to hear the things, and sometimes in a brief way, like the youth group is going to a water park. And they're like, oh, cool, I love hearing that they're doing things. And for the youth group side of things, it would be, they're going to a water park, we need sunscreen, we're meeting at this time, and they'll get all the details. And if people want more, they can go, to another location, like a website where you might have a landing page. But you can reduce things to, my church has actually reduced their newsletter to like a one-page thing, and it's been awesome. It's the same information, some of it's different places, and some of it's a lot briefer. And we're getting higher read rates on that sort of thing. And then prayer requests are on the back, so it's kind of like a one-stop shop for a lot of that stuff.
All right, so nuts and bolts this afternoon. We at the seminary are a Salesforce shop at this point. We spent the last couple years rolling that out. I could talk to you for hours about the joy that's been, because it really has. I don't even mean that sarcastically. It's actually been really cool. And they do have some great deals for nonprofits, which are awesome. Having said that, they're going to be more expensive than like Constant Contact or Mailchimp or that kind of thing. So since we don't have anybody in here doing that, I'm not going to show you the Salesforce side of it. It integrates everything in your Salesforce org. So if you've got donor information and you've got client information in there, you can use the same system to email both groups, that kind of thing. As an example that we won't dive too far into, I actually just built out a system a week before last for financial aid to send out student loan disbursement reminders on an automated basis. She just enters them into the student's financial aid record, and the system grabs it and goes from there. So it's that kind of thing that we can do there.
Can I ask why you use that for a Constant Contact or Mailchimp or whatever? I know it doesn't make sense to cover it, but why do you use it?
The real reason, this is Exact Target would be the other name you know it by. It's just got a whole lot more capabilities to it than Mailchimp or Constant Contact does. Like I said, the price tag reflects that. They're proud of it. I think right now, I would have to look it up, but I want to say we're somewhere around 15 to 20K a year for Marketing Cloud. Yeah, I mean, it's a jump, but you're also looking at being able to do SMS messaging through that. If you've got an app, you can do push notifications that way. You've also got, and I know Constant Contact, I think, has some of this, their Journey Builder, where you can, send the drip campaign where, rather than just telling you a story then asking for money, we're telling you a story, giving you a personal thank you from the president for your last donation, and then following it up, a week later with the actual ask and those kinds of things.
Does that store, so donors, your database can all be stored in there? Because right now we use, this may not apply to everyone, but we have Constant Contact for newsletters and everything like that, but then we use Little Green Light to track donors and donations. Can you do that all in? You can do it all in Salesforce. You can't do it all in Marketing Cloud directly, but Salesforce has what they call their Nonprofit Success Pack in PSP. If you are a 501c3, your first 10 licenses are free, and I don't want to be a Salesforce commercial, but at the same time, it's been pretty awesome for us. So, like I said, I don't want to spend the whole time beating that drum, but the capabilities here are pretty crazy. So I'm actually going to dive in a little bit on the audience builder side. Is the screen visible, or do we need to turn out the light? Now that I've got nothing but a white screen up there, I'm sure it's super helpful. Yeah, I think that's better. Man, the internet is going to make this the world's slowest demo. So,
Yeah, I know. What do you do?
There's also the other side of Salesforce, like the social media type stuff too. That's really
Oh yeah, Social Studio.
Social Studio is really awesome for any of your social media presences. Oh, should I be saying this to the thing?
I think we're.
But it gives you the opportunity to create publishing macros, which is basically a pre-designed label you can slap on any post. So if I'm posting about a musical event, I have my list of targeted search terms that people look for to target them specifically. You can pick age, location demographics, and then once you've built that, it's there, and you can either have it automatically applied to all your future posts, or you can just use it on specific ones. There's ones I apply to all of our posts. There's some I just do if it's a devotional, or if it's but it's a great way to target your audiences too, at least on that side of things. I do a lot of social media stuff, so.
So that reaches more than just people that are following you.
Yeah.
Is anyone
It's so, yeah, for like, there's so many search terms you can use. Like for our devotional things, I'll look up like theology, the Bible. For music side, it's like gospel music, I mean, there's like, and for our events, like conferences or, things like that. So there's some of the ones I've built that are huge. Like it's just, I put so many different search terms in there, and actually we've gotten more interaction on our posts that way. I've seen it steadily grow since I started using it, and I love it. Once you set it up, it's automatic. You can just boom, boom, boom. You don't have to type out targeting things every single time. It's a really cool tool. I love it.
All right. Do we remember which one's the conference Wi-Fi?
It's the CCL.
All right. Thank you. Because my hotspot is not
It was
keeping
like
up.
hashtag BPM 2022.
Yeah, I caught that part, just not the. Well, I thought I caught that part.
I couldn't get it to work earlier either.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll
Do you
stay.
want me to make mine my phone a hotspot?
Yeah, we'll keep going here.
Yeah, they said the Wi-Fi in the upper rooms was not as.
Yeah. All right. Well, hotspot's thinking about things, so. All right. So real quick here, what I'm diving into on the Salesforce side is the data extensions, what they call it. It's basically your contact list. There's way too many data extensions in here, and you can use them for all kinds of things, but 90% of your use cases is first name, last name, email. I mean, it's a standard contact list. Nothing special there. One of the things you're eventually going to see, internet willing, is that we've added a couple fields to this one for youth group, and I think I did men's ministry for the other one. Yeah, men's morning Bible study. So you can see here we've got, those are set as checkbox fields or Boolean fields. Those are just yes, no. It's one of the advantages with ExactTarget that Constant Contact can't do, and we'll get to that. It doesn't allow you to just do a checkbox field. Custom fields are only text-based. And I'll talk about why that's a problem when we get there. Just as a quick demo here, you can see I've got myself and Rebecca in here. I'm on the men's Bible study. She's got a kid in the youth group. It's actually true, so it works out. Yeah, that didn't actually plan that. So that's the data we're working with in our test feature here. So while the internet is working, I'm going to dive in here. And just real quickly run through what does that then look like when we get into the editor. This will show you what we can do here, and then like I said, we'll get into a little bit of Constant Contact and how you can do it there, that kind of thing. Hey look, a BPM demonstration message. This long silence is here while the page loads on the computer for anybody listening.
You know why they make the little dots move?
Oh yeah.
It makes
So-
you feel like
Military,
progress is
they
happening.
brought computers on that, no lights and no sound.
Mm-hmm.
Operators went nuts.
Oh yeah.
If it was working or not.
Yep.
Back in the 70s.
Yeah, I have a friend who's been a programmer for a good long time, and he has had routines where they'll tell you, the users come back and say it's taken too long, and so he changed it from one progress bar to a progress bar that zips across multiple times. It was much faster.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't change anything else, just that bit. So, all right. So here's in our editor. So we've got I just grabbed some announcements from actually our church's newsletter. So please don't actually contact Krista, although she's delightful, but she wouldn't like a bunch of emails here. So I'm just going to go with the idea that, you know, we don't necessarily want, let's say, the youth group members receiving our new member class announcement. We might, but for purposes here, that's fine. So the syntax on a lot of these, if you're actually doing the programming side, is going to be just if-then. So I'm going to take our, let's see, I think I did youth group member. I should have kept that open in another tab. And you can always type until you can't, until you're in front of people. There you go. All right, so the formatting in this doesn't really matter. It's just there, but you're adding in just a little bit of a programming tag, telling it if this value is true, then go ahead and display the next box. So I'm going to come down here and, you know, here we would do, you can do an else section. This means basically if the above wasn't true, then put this instead. How about, and I'm just making stuff up, obviously. And then end if is how you close it out, and I've forgotten my percentage tags. All right. So, and I'm going to double check that data extension, albeit slowly and painfully. And that's really, I mean, this is kind of the story with the ExactTarget or Marketing Cloud, whichever one you know it as. The challenge there is that it's very, very flexible. We can program this to do a ton of cool things, but you are programming. I mean, you're really digging into the code and knowing what you're doing here. So if I save this content, looks like it's already auto-save for me, and I pop over here to preview someday.
So that's true when you type it in the content section or when you're in the HTML side of things?
In the content section. Yeah, it's going to notice those tags. That % bracket is what this particular program uses to say this is code, not content. So pretty simple on that front. Let's see if it'll let me over to test it here.
Is that true across, like, where other programs do, like Constant Contact or something? Ooh, wow, that didn't like that one bit. Yeah, youth group members unrecognized, yeah, which I am trying to get back to. But either way, you're checking your variable and then spelling it out. I don't want to spend a ton of time here just because I know nobody else is using it, but that's the idea we're striving for here. We get into Constant Contact. We've got a graphic way to do this, and this is also true of Mailchimp. So I'm going to go in. All right, I'm going to click as though I'm going to go in. So the big thing with Constant Contact is you can do custom fields, and those are awesome. But you're limited on that. You can only do text-based. So if you do, like I said, the interested in youth group announcements, for example, well, great, you can do that. But you can't, you have to then maintain that in the church office. You can't expose that through a web form, for example. Because what will happen is inevitably you're going to have a user come in there and they're going to get to that interested in youth group announcements and they're going to type no. Well, all Constant Contact allows you to do is detect, is this field filled out or not? It doesn't allow you to determine, what's in it or, yes, no, any of that. So you're stuck there. Same for Mailchimp, only rather than custom fields, all you've got is the group feature, where you can put people into multiple groups and then filter content that way, which might be a great way to go at your question of the different elders, is to have each elder have a group maintained by the church office, and then they can target that way and do their content through that. On the advancement side, well, this is loading. Let's talk bigger picture. Couple things. I don't know how much data you have on your donor base there. We are taking a good hard look at, okay, who are the people that give because they really support confessional Lutheran theology and want to see pastors? Who are the people who donate to the seminary because they love the music events and they love the chapel services?
Who are the people that just have an affinity for the faculty or whatever? There's all these different reasons, and we actually just recently sent out a card with our last appeal asking people to just tell us, hey, why do you support us? And got some really great feedback with that. So starting to use that then to choose, okay, what are the images we're going to use in this appeal? I mean, if somebody's really big on the music events, then let's put the chapel organ up front on that. If it's about, the students and the fact that we train pastors for the church, then let's get a shot or two at coffee time and lead with those stories. So those kinds of things. The other thing you can do, what's your online donation platform?
We through our website, so Firespring.
Okay. Does it allow you to do different ask ladders at all?
Donation pages and stuff.
Yeah, okay. So one of the other things you can do with that is to start dividing your donor base into different giving capacities. And so you're not given that $10,000 donor the ask for $25. You can start to put together your giving page that has the 100, 200, 300, whatever's appropriate there. And then you start to target those more effectively. Because especially in the world of fundraising, if you're not in their wheelhouse, you're going to get just a few minutes of their attention and that's it. I mean, especially if you're dealing with the super high-end donors. If you've got their attention, then it's got to be frictionless for them to make the decision and do it. So.
And the different giving pages for each campaign is really helpful with tracking how successful it's been, whether the click came from a specific email. It's so helpful with, okay, this email didn't work, let's do a different, and then you have different landing pages, so then everything is kind of separated out. You can see what was successful.
Yeah.
So, in a typical Lutheran church, do you think there's that kind of solicitation happening all the time? Or?
I don't think generally there is. I'm thinking,
We don't have pledge campaigns, we don't have...
No. I think at that point, that is more about discipleship, I would say, than fundraising at that point. At that point, you're really working with folks to help them understand, the whole idea of stewardship and everything that's with that. That's a spiritual care issue. With something like a counseling center or the seminary, then yeah, you're definitely in that nonprofit fundraising world, and so you're trying to do a little more targeted. So, all right, well, I'm going to hope this loads here because the process for Constant Contact and the process for Mailchimp are actually very similar, and yeah. Since this is going to fight me the whole way, in each layout piece on Constant Contact, oh man, all I had to do was threaten it, right? All right, so in each layout piece here, you can see it's not on the individual pieces of content, it's on the bigger layout piece. It seems to work at that level. I haven't done a ton with Constant Contact, but you get these cool little lightning bolts over here. This allows you to create dynamic content. The challenge is you can only do it is whether it's not blank or is filled in. All right. So in this case, we're going to say yes, or try to say yes. And so got to give it a name. All right. So we do pool party full announcement. So if the youth group is filled out as yes, and again, you've got to maintain this at the church office because you can't trust your end users to have standard input there. They're not going to fill it in. Then you would display that part. Let me get another text part in here. I'll just throw it in. All right. And in this one, so we would give the same thing. So if the youth group is not, let's see. Sorry, it's not blank, then we would do the big announcement. Sorry, I've done this wrong. I'm going to try that again. Told you I didn't work with it as much.
So you're just changing the way the email looks.
Well, no, I'm changing what's going to happen here. So maybe I don't hit cancel. So if it's not blank, if anything's filled in for youth group, awesome. Save that. Don't right click on it. Here, however, if it is blank, so then we're going to do dynamic content here. So I'm going to just leave is blank. Oh, I have to put something in there? Really? All right. Okay, then in this case, I actually didn't understand how this works. So here you're going to have to put no. You're going to have yes and no values in there. All right. So here we would go yes. And again, this just points back to you've absolutely got to maintain it yourself. You can't have it be. All right. So while that's refreshing, what that would do then is for one value, it's going to show you this version of the announcement. For the other value, it's going to show you that one.
So you're still just forming one email instead of having to do 5 different emails.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't have to duplicate your efforts.
Yep. And that's the whole idea, is that within the same email we can have these conditional sort of branching paths that can happen, so that you're getting, Grandma Sue doesn't have kids in youth group, doesn't even have grandkids in youth group anymore, but still wants to know what they're doing. Awesome. She sees the youth are having a pool party at the Smith's house tonight. The parent with a kid in youth group, the youth themselves, they're getting, hey, it's at the Smith's house, it starts at 7, bring this, bring a snack to share, all of the detail that otherwise would just be noise in there. So that's the idea, and we'll see how much of that's saved here. None of it. All right, well. Idea behind it, the same thing's true in Mailchimp, only instead of using the custom fields, you've got to use groups. So you would show this to people who are in this elders group. You can have it display this message. People who are not in that group, however, get that message instead. So rather than elders groups, you can use that for some of your different audiences. The perfect world with that would be actually that you've got a form where people can self-select what they want. That's kind of the ideal, and I'm going to cheat here. Let me see. I think I left my Blue News open. There we go. So I'll come back to this in a minute because this is a really long example. Wow. There we go. Yep. All right. So, I need to figure out what's up with that. We got 2 footers and nobody has noticed. That tells me how often anybody scrolls down there. Because believe me, if they'd noticed, they would have emailed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the unsubscribe page takes you to the place where you can kind of check what your interests are. I will, just total transparency, I don't actually have all these hooked up yet to mailing lists. That's on my to-do.
These are not saved, they're for this viewing only.
No, this is tied to this email recipient. That's the code at the top in the URL there, that long 710D, yeah, whatever. It will actually in the system record this, and actually for us it'll write back to Salesforce and check those boxes on the contact record. So we can look and then use that in advancement appeals, that kind of thing. Yeah, we're starting to hit a level of privacy invasion that gets a little creepy. I'm not sure I really want to go there, but but it allows people to be able to do that. I don't think at this point that's super easy to do with Constant Contact or with Mailchimp. Your best bet would be to have a web form that comes into the church office and it's maintained there. I don't like manual processes because they take more time, obviously. They introduce human error because humans are human. It happens. So it's not my favorite. I would rather automate everything. That's kind of my goal at the seminary at the moment, is automate everything, and people look at me like I'm weird, but they did that before then, so it's all good. But yeah, then once you've got that, if people can kind of self-select that and choose kind of then, wow, that's, all right, I'm not even messing with that. Then they can start to choose, and you can start to have that branching email that hits the different groups. Presents a little bit differently, that kind of thing. That's the Whirlwind Tour. This is the spot where I would have put MailChimp if I could, but can't.
You can do like the preview if you send a test.
Yeah.
Can you see all the different versions that pop up?
Yeah, so if I go to preview on Constant Contact here, you may have to walk me through how that works because I have not done a ton here.
I've never messed around with it like before, but like we'll
Yeah.
send a test just to make sure all the things are working and like that. But I don't
Yeah.
know if like if you send a test, if you, version you would get, or how
I
to make
think-
sure that every version is the way you want it to be.
Well, and I think what you get is you get all of them.
Okay.
And so you'll see the full output of each one and make sure it works. I was reading up on that a little bit last night, and as I recall, that's what they said is you're going to see all. With the exact target, you do have, we're back here again. You do have the option of actually previewing as a given subscriber. So under this preview and test here, it's not going to let me right now because I've got that error in there. I could select, so this is actually on Rebecca's already. It's remembered where I left it. So that's super helpful. Again, it's that jump in functionality that's there, but with it comes that huge jump in price point. So, I love it. It's incredibly useful, but I get why some folks might or might not go for it because, well, it was a tough sell at the SEM. So, other questions here?
So you're actually taking a document, email document, and making it dynamically presented.
Exactly.
Just like sort of we're doing on a webpage.
Exactly. You're using the information you've got on those custom fields then to create sort of it's almost your choose your own adventure of email, if that's a metaphor that helps. I grew up with those books, so where you're getting just the pieces that are relevant to you is the idea. So probably the best example of that actually is the email we were just looking at here. Our Blue News, you can see this thing just goes on forever. And this is a daily email. And the actual open and read rates were surprisingly good. I mean, we're still getting like 50% open, but all students, faculty, staff, student wives, other random people who sign up. It's internal, really focused, but
It's not publish or perish, right?
no. Based on some people's reaction when we talked about just going down to once a week, you would think it is. That didn't fly. We floated that in our communication audit, and
Go for that, but
no, that was not a win.
You can see the open, right? Can you see how far they scroll? How deep they? Is there a
No.
if they click on things down there,
Yes.
You can see, okay.
Yeah, so you can see click rates, but once it's opened, it's opened. Most of those are actually tracking that using just a little 1 pixel image that gets loaded when the email's opened, and that's how it tells. I mean, you can never see it. That is becoming less useful. Some of Apple's recent changes to the iPhone and how it loads email are actually stopping those from working. And Google's moving in that direction. So the difference there is Google is intending to work with marketers and marketing programs to come up with balanced ways of handling that. Apple just kind of does their thing unilaterally, which is how Apple always does things. And it works. I mean, if you're in Apple's ecosystem, all their stuff works and it's awesome. If you're not,
sometimes I was thinking on the advancement side, when I'm putting out an appeal, I like to put the giving link a bunch of different places on the page and just see where people are actually clicking. Like, is it the image? Is it the, the actual ask? Is it, and then you can see what's working and kind of how far people are scrolling and things of that nature. So that's helpful.
yeah. Well, and especially if you're doing a big fundraising appeal or even like a big event advertisement, you might consider all of these clients have options for doing an A/B test at the start of it, where you format one, maybe you lead with a whole lot more pictures, maybe you do one with a lot more text and hard information. But what it'll do is it'll take 10% of your mailing list, send both versions out randomly to those people, see which one gets the greater open or greater click rate, and then use that one for the remaining 90% of your list.
That's super helpful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Super helpful.
Yeah, so you can start to test on that. So this email at this point is generated daily, and you can see one of the changes we made, we floated new announcements to the top. The nice thing about that is I now read Blue News, because if I had to scroll through this thing looking for what was new every single day, I didn't. I mean, ever. So it's all here. It's, like I said, still way too much information, but,
I was thinking too, for the admissions side of things, we've been working a lot on the journeys that students go through, prospective students, and then have everything smooth, like you get all of your information for registration, everything all together, all in one, digestible email. And once, if you haven't turned in registration, it gets triggered to give you a reminder, and guiding them through the whole process. So it's like, even from interest to graduation, just a whole line designed to guide them through.
Yeah, that matriculation journey is actually one of our goals for the year that we're working on. Right now it's kind of a train wreck, just to be transparent about it, because as soon as the student's accepted, well, then the registrar needs to email them about classes, and the financial aid office needs this, and the IT office needs that, and dean of students wants to know if they're living in the dorm or not. And so they get like 4 or 5 big mailings.
Bring it all
From the
together.
different
Yeah.
departments.
Exactly, and those may hit at different times. They're all written differently. They're all branded differently.
And
Yeah.
there's a realistic aspect to, there's a lot of good people at your organization that have always done things a way, and you want to approach them with care and respect their way, but also
No, I
bring
don't.
them all on the same page. So it's kind of a process. That's the process we're in. And it's coming along. It is, but it's kind of a key to that whole experience for like a donor, for a student, that you're guided through, and everybody's on the same page, using the same font and the same
No
logo.
papyrus.
Same logo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same colors.
Well, and especially with something like a student journey, then you've got the option to insert other things in there. So you might have your registration information followed by a welcome from the principal. And so that second email, there's nothing for them to do. That's just, hey, saying hi, we're glad you're here, thank you. Then comes the next steps, that kind of thing. So you can do a lot with that to maintain those little touches that help students get from acceptance to matriculation effectively. And that's definitely been something we've looked at. We lose somewhere between 10 to 20% between confirmation of admission and matriculation. And some of that's unavoidable. I mean, guy gets called up to active duty in the military. Nothing you can do about it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just going to happen. But wherever we can, we want to make sure we're walking with them and keeping in touch with them so that if there are problems, we can deal with it ahead of time. So we're almost out of time. Last thing I kind of had on my list, just a thing to be aware of is anybody who's doing email marketing, you want to go ahead and move towards an active opt-in for your emails. Right now, the way the laws are written and the way most of these systems work, it's an opt-out. So you've got the link at the bottom. You're required to have that by CAN-SPAM. You've got to have all those things. California and all of Europe has gone active opt-in, where you actually have to be able to show this person clicked this link on this date to say, I want this email, not, we sent it and they didn't say no. So that is a matter of time before that gets rolled out nationally. So it will be on you to track it. And if the consumer complains and says, hey, I didn't request these emails, you need to be able to demonstrate, well, no, you signed up for our fundraising list here.
So even if it's like a paper copy of something like on some of our forms
Yep.
for our clients who say, are you interested in our newsletter? And they check yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's active opt-in.
You'd only get in trouble if someone turns you in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, you're right. In the church use case, a lot of times we're not even going to run into that.
But yeah, you want to cover it.
But yeah,
It's
exactly.
a painful thing too, because you'll end up losing. You want a big email list. You want to be reaching a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, talking to your team about doing that but you're targeting people that really want. It'll be more intentional communication. You're not just sending out a bunch of stuff and hoping that people will open it. So it's painful losing people on your email list, but also it's more targeted. It's more quality, I think. And
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. You're cleaning the list more than losing people off it, ultimately. And I know our advancement office have been the worst on that. And it's not that they've been that bad. I don't mean that by any means. But they're looking and going, but wait, if we ask only people who have actively signed up to receive fundraising appeals, then we're not going to send to as many people and we're not going to get as much in donations. Well, I don't know that the second part is true. The first part is. You're definitely not going to be sending to as many people, but you're sending to the right people. And that's the thing. So, cool. Well, as always, we're around. The seminaries exist to serve the church and be resources.
Oh,
so.
we had a QR code to.
Oh, yeah. I totally don't have that on my computer, though.
Oh,
So. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
With your experience in marketing surveys
Yeah.
and such, I always use the same mail name for myself in iCloud, Gmail.
Yeah. Yeah.